Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donoghue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donoghue, and my cohort in Creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. This week, we were going to cover the recent PR scandals of the royal family. We still will. But just so you know, there's some breaking news that happened within the last hour. Exactly. We want to just very quickly go through our socials. Reach out to us at What a Creep Podcast, all the social media places. We are always looking for creeps. So if you have ideas, especially using email, you can send them to us, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. 2 bonus episodes a month on Patreon, and we have 8 seasons of episodes on Patreon. That's real quick. We did it super quick this time. Why?
Yes.
Because we have a royal superstar in our midst. She's getting phone calls from CNN, y'all, right in front of us. She's a big deal. She's also a friend of ours, and she's somebody I meet for coffee sometimes, which fills me with delight.
She's a real person.
She's a real person. We really, really adore her. Kristen Meinzer of the Daily Fail podcast and royal expert extraordinaire. And by the way, she literally wrote the book on podcasting. If you want to start a podcast, look up Kristen Meinzer's book and do everything that she says. Hello, our friend.
Oh my gosh, it is such a delight to be with you two today. I love both of you. I consider you both friends. I know some people listen to podcasts and think, are these people actually friends? Are they just pretending on mic? But I legitimately love both of you. And this is a real friendship here between all of us. And I cannot...
How we feel about you.
Yes. And I cannot imagine better people to just unpack the breaking news with than with you two. And I know we have lots of other things to talk about today, but we are going to be talking about the breaking news with Kate. And thanks for inviting me on.
Absolutely. So
thank you.
It's 3:08 p.m. here in New York City as I'm recording this. As a person that was a PR person and crisis communications person, it's called the Friday afternoon news dump from my past. You send out bad news on Friday afternoons. You also just stuff you just want to get out the door and don't want to really have to deal with. Divorces, people getting fired, things like that. And unfortunately, what we just heard is that this was recorded 2 days ago by Kate. She did have planned surgery in late December, early January, and then they found cancer. And so they're doing preventative measures now to treat her. So all this time talking about maybe she's getting divorced, maybe she's hiding from him, is she in a coma?
Maybe she got a Brazilian butt lift. That was my favorite conspiracy.
There was a lot of conspiracies around her and what happened to her. Well, Krista, we want to get your take first because you're constantly on the news talking about her. I mean, what are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm feeling sadness for her first and foremost. Cancer is absolutely terrible, as the both of you say on your show regularly. Fuck cancer.
Fuck
All
cancer.
3 of us have lost people we love very deeply to cancer and or have survived cancer and or just know that cancer is the worst. And so fuck cancer with regard to everybody in the world dealing with it, and fuck cancer with regard to Kate Middleton dealing with it. My heart really goes out to her. She's only 42. She's got 3 young kids. It sucks.
Yeah.
But also, I also want to say fuck her PR team.
Yeah.
Because all of the conspiracy theories and the jokes that have been circulating, in my heart, I truly believe at the heart of those jokes and conspiracy theories, I think there was genuine concern, genuine confusion, people just wanting to know what's going on here. And knowing the history of this royal family and what they have done to the women in this family, look at Meghan, look at Diana, look at what these women have been forced to go through, forced to endure in silence. And of course, the public's imagination is going to run wild if you are being very vague, when on the flip side, Buckingham Palace is being more or less transparent about what Charles is going through, telling us about his enlarged prostate, telling us about his cancer diagnosis, telling us about his scheduling, showing us regular photos, videos, and updates of him. And meanwhile, on the flip side with Kate, choosing to be very vague about everything, not giving us specific dates of when we'll see her again, not giving us specific anything with regard to her, shutting down certain photos that are leaked, meanwhile being okay with other photos that are leaked, meanwhile doctoring certain photos that are then pulled from the presses. All of this fiasco just made a bad situation worse. And of course, people who are worried about Kate are then going to start going down conspiracy holes. Of course, they're going to start joking about bad Photoshop when we don't have anything else to work with and you won't tell us the truth.
I mean, that is the job of the communications team. It's not like people always say with PR flags and publicity, your job is to lie or your job is to tell storytelling and stuff. But they make a lot of money, from the taxes of the people that they're in charge of. And they're not telling the stories. They're not being honest. They're not showing respect for their constituents by being honest. There's a way to protect her privacy and still get the message out that it's a serious illness, but we're dealing with it. We're being proactive. You don't have to give all of the details away. But when you hide so much, I think this is also because the other day they found somebody who was trying to break into her hospital records. This was like from inside the hospital, people were trying to find out. I mean, and this is what happens when you give no information. And so there's ways to give information without giving away everything and having control of it. But we knew, like, once the Queen died, it was like everything went to hell in a handbasket with that family. I don't know if they all have their own communications teams. And so
they really dropped the ball on this. I hate calling it a story because it makes it sound like it's fictional, but like, this is the most relatable thing. Everyone we just talked about this. All three of us have been touched by cancer in some way in our lives. And like the fact that she is going through this and Charles is going through this is the most, everyone has someone in their family that is struggling with something like this. There's so much empathy for what she's going through, but we didn't know. We're all making jokes again about like the Brazilian butt lifts and, she's dating Pete Davidson now or, whatever, all these stupid jokes. And like, that's not helping her. They didn't serve her by not revealing. Just give us a little something so people weren't so worried.
And we were never asking for hourly updates or daily updates. We didn't want anyone to break into her medical records. The fact that somebody or some people have chosen to do that, that's reprehensible. Nobody was asking for that. I think what we just wanted was enough. The same amount or even a little bit less than Charles has been giving us. That's all we needed. Just something so that we had a place that was healthier to direct our concerns. Right now, as you were just saying, Sonia, the only place we had to direct our concerns really was jokes because it's like, who knows what's going on, right?
Yeah,
right.
But like you said, it was coming from a place of concern where everybody was really worried. And now, like seeing her video, I have nothing but empathy for her. I was very moved by her video as someone who's also was diagnosed with breast cancer when I had a small child. It's super, super scary. It's so overwhelming. I understand why she needed her space to like process that stuff. And you don't want to do it in the public eye. That's legit. I feel like they could have protected her better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They absolutely could have. And I feel like one way that would have protected her more is maybe use a little bit more technical language just in that first surgery, for example. Instead of saying an abdominal surgery, say, there is, even just using technical body parts like an intestine, or saying something that was more specific and not so vague. Again, I'm not saying we have to give away all of her medical information, but, Charles used the word prostate. Using just the name of a body part, I think would have made a big difference in all of this for people.
Well, wasn't it their whole thing is never complain, never explain. That was sort of like the dictate that they all had to sort of follow. And that comes from Queen Elizabeth, just your chin up, shoulders back. You're British. We don't react heavily to things, right? And I think that's part of like their, we just we don't want to tell them. So we just won't tell them. But understanding like when your brain doesn't have the proper information, it will go to some wild places because that's the only thing that could make sense. They also advertised just yesterday at Buckingham Palace for a communications assistant to help out. And it's like $25K a year. Like, what?
As far as the never complain, never explain motto, I just want to touch on that. Supposedly, that's been the family motto ever since Disraeli introduced that to Queen Victoria. And the fact of the matter is they do complain and they do explain, but they do it so inconsistently and frequently through back channels. And that doesn't help their case at all. Like, William's team complained because Ryanair had a media post that was kind of poking fun at William, saying they saved a seat for him on the plane. And there's all these social media jokes about he likes pegging, which, by the way, no shame in that. Like, we like what we like, you know?
It made me look up the word pegging. That's how boring my love life is.
But if you like pegging, I'm like, I'm not going to yuck your yum. That's fine. And Ryanair made a joke about that. But William's social media team didn't like it, and they made sure that was taken down. And so they will complain and explain, and frequently about just dumb things like that. That's what you're choosing to complain and explain about, rather than explain about maybe your wife has, it's cancer.
I mean, I just
this
remember
is really directing your abilities in the wrong direction.
I remember a few years ago, and this is back before Harry was married to Meghan, but they had a whole thing about talking about mental health awareness. And the three royals talking about it openly. They had specials and they played over there, and it was on social media as well. Like, you thought that they were sort of heading in a more modern direction. Like, it's okay to talk about things. No one expects you to be perfect. No one expects you to never get ill. That happens to everybody. It's the most relatable thing ever. And she has good people looking after her. But something happened, with their frisure, and they want to do things differently than Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are just limits to how much William is going to be transparent about his mental health. He's just a little bit more proper. He's a little bit more firstborn. He's a little bit more oldest child, if you will. And Harry's not. Harry's always been a little faster and looser, a little, fly by the seat of his pants. And he's married to an actress from California, which is like the polar opposite of what a British royal is. They use words like, I want to own my story. I'm just trying to be, forthright about this journey. Think about how a Californian talks versus how British aristocracy talk. You could not be more opposite. And Harry, he likes that. He's totally fine with it. He married it. He's built a life with that. And William, he would never build a life with that. He would never talk like that. Let's be real.
It just was sad because it seemed like he was a little more modern and a little more, he had that little bit of his mother in him, maybe just a little bit more than his father, but maybe that's not the case.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some ways we can see his mother in him. Most notably, when he was younger, he looked more like his mother than his father. Nowadays, now that he's in his 40s, he's come to look more like his father. But, he used to look more like his mom. And in some ways, he's been a little bit more open about, certain vulnerabilities in his own life. He has talked about the pain of losing his mother and so on. But there are real limits to what he'll be vulnerable about. And Harry, as we've seen, there don't seem to be limits there.
I listened to Spare the other night. He has a great voice if you want to fall asleep, to be honest with you. His audiobook
is a great voice.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's perfect for that. Well, we do have a couple of questions. Do you mind if we run through?
Let's get into them.
Let's get into them, because we did come up with a couple of questions. So we don't have to talk about Categate. We pretty much figured that out.
Solved.
So how do you think the press is going to react to this, the British press?
I think the British press is going to show great empathy for Kate. They're going to talk about how much they love their future queen. There's going to be a great deal of reverence for her. And I think there's also going to be increased blowback against how the U.S. media has responded to this story. There's already been some criticism in the UK press. For example, The Telegraph ran a story saying, Stephen Colbert, he was making fun of the rumored affair between Will and Rose Hanbury, and he didn't even ask the palace for permission to make those jokes.
Right.
And, in America, we don't ask the palace for permission to make jokes about higher ups, whether they're in a palace or they're in the White House. We make those jokes. We're allowed to punch up in the US. And it's a real difference between the British press and our press because, one of the outlets I was talking with earlier today, and by earlier, I mean like half an hour ago, they actually were asking, like, do you think the US is going to be remorseful about all of this now? And I think that's an interesting question because I think that part of the US's free press is that we have always punched up and we have no problem doing that. And that includes our former overlords, the British Empire. We are a former colony, and it's kind of our birthright to make fun of the empire if we want to, or ask questions about what messaging we're getting from them. And I don't think that we need to have remorse for anything that we have said or done in the press. I think we did what our press does when we don't have full transparency from power figures, from those in power. We almost always, if those in power are not being transparent, we will ask questions and we will make jokes. That's what we'll do. If you're being transparent with us, it's another story.
Yeah.
I think you'll see remorse from, say, a Colbert. Like, I could see him like baby stepping it back a little bit to apologize. Or you might see remorse, say, on all the TikTok sleuths that other newspapers then ran with because they just let the TikTok sleuths do their work for them. Like, well, I'm just reporting on what people are talking about on TikTok,
Yeah.
So I think you might see some like remorse at the source, but I don't know if you'll see remorse big picture wise, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think all the sleuthing is a bad thing. I think that some of the sleuthing has gotten has drawn attention to real issues. For example, the sleuths of Rose Hanbury. Now that we have been in recent weeks seeing more and more pictures of her lounging on her chaise inside of her estate, and seeing more and more photos of the pillaged items. Her husband's family, they made their millions in China during the period where millions and millions of items were pillaged from China. And it's no secret that the aristocracy, all we have to do is look at the aristocracy in the UK, look in their museums to see how many of their items are stolen and pillaged. That's just the fact of the matter. And I think more attention is being drawn to that. How did the aristocracy get rich? Oh, they stole a bunch of stuff. So I think one thing that has been good about these online sleuths is we're drawing attention to things like that. I think also the online sleuths have been useful for reminding us that what we get from the palace, while it may seem like they're presenting us with news, behind closed doors, they're treating it like Instagram. They're doctoring their photos as much as they want to.
Right.
They may be telling us that they are releasing news to us, but the palace is releasing their own PR, essentially.
Right.
They may call it news, but they're violating all journalistic ethics when they are merging 20 photos together or doing the kinds of Photoshop that they are. It's one thing to do a color correction.
Right.
It's quite another to do what they've been doing. And so I would say it's not 100% bad what the sleuths have been doing. That being said, I'm not in favor of just let's badmouth them for the sake of badmouthing them, which I do think some conspiracy theorists maybe were doing. But I also understand, that being said, I know where a lot of the conspiracies came from. There was an episode of The Daily Fail where we just went through line by line several of the conspiracy theories, and we said, we understand where this comes from. This comes from people's concerns about what happened to Diana. Where does this conspiracy theory come from? Well, this comes from the press doing this with Charles versus this with Kate. Where does this conspiracy theory come from? Well, William did assault his brother, so would William also assault his wife? So we understand where a lot of the conspiracy theories come from. But so I'm not 100%, poo-pooing everybody who's out there trying to dig up the truth. But again, we have to point back at the PR team. There wouldn't be the conspiracy theorists in the first place if they were more transparent.
Yes.
They were terrible. They handled it terribly. Their idea was like, let's do this. Let's send a Mother's Day post. That'll make everybody happy. And then they had to retract it, which I don't know about you, Kristen or Sonia, I've never heard of that before. where
Oh, gosh.
the Associated Press, like all these agencies said we cannot confirm that this is a real photo, so you can't use it anymore.
Yeah, I've worked in journalism for 20 years and don't remember this happening.
No.
And I've worked for some big outlets. I've worked for CBS. I worked for WNYC. I've worked for big names. I don't remember this happening before.
Nope. But I think with AI, we might start seeing more of it.
Yes, I think so too. And I think that's another reason why there have been suspicions about that video supposedly at the farm store. It's like, was this a real video? Now we don't know what images to trust from the palace, especially after the Mother's Day photo.
Right.
We don't know what to.
I mean, they should have had, with her, I mean, in a hospital gown, the corner, like make a video very quickly and just saying, I've had some complications. I'm going to be taking care of myself. Please respect my privacy, blah, blah, blah. That's all people needed.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't.
Or just doing what Charles did. He released a video of him reading some get well cards.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-second video. It doesn't need to be all that.
You can have the kids giving her get well cards from all over the country. And how it makes look, I'm doing this. I'm putting it up for them. I know. So this is the gruesome part. What happens when Charles dies?
There is a plan in place, and there has been a plan in place since long before he was king. And there was for the Queen also. And what usually happens is they make the announcement first the old-fashioned way, where a placard is put out in front of Buckingham Palace, and then news is distributed to all of the online and print and TV outlets of the king being dead. Flags are hung at, half-mast. There is all of the official announcing that goes on, and then he will lay in state to be observed. There will be essentially a parade, a funeral, a period of mourning in between all of this stuff that will last at least a week. This is usually what happens, and the minute he passes away, William will be the monarch. Even before the ceremony happens, he is the monarch the minute that Charles is declared dead. That's
like the
what
vice
will
president
happen.
becomes the president right away.
Automatically. You don't have to be sworn in. You automatically just are. You are the king now. And, Charles, this is all being overshadowed now by Kate in this very moment, but we don't fully know everything about Charles either.
Right.
Remember, we've been told he has cancer, but we haven't been told what kind of cancer he has. And he's a lot older than Kate, He's almost 35 years older than Kate. And so that's a different stage in life. And cancer tends to hit differently when you're, in your mid to late 70s than it does when you're in your early 40s. So I'm not trying to be morbid here. I'm just trying to be realistic about what cancer is and the stage of life that Charles is in. And there have been many different kinds of cancer in his family. His mom had cancer. His, other members of his family have had cancer. And so he knows how serious it can be.
And the treatment is different for someone of that age, too. Or no treatment, because the treatment, it could be so harsh on someone that old.
Yeah. And that also depends partially on what kind of cancer he has, which we don't know.
Yeah.
Right. What's to be done about Prince Andrew?
I was like, we did have
Oof. Speaking of what a creep.
Just not a lot of people to
Seriously.
pinch hit for you, man. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, there's no one in this family that can step up.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago when Kate Gate was starting to reach a fever pitch because William was supposed to be giving a biblical reading at his godfather's funeral. King Constantine of Greece passed away. William was supposed to be a part of the funeral. He was supposed to be there with his family. At the very last minute, he said that he could no longer make the funeral because of a, quote, personal matter, which raised a lot of red flags with the public. What do you mean a personal matter? What could be more important than giving a biblical reading at your godfather's funeral? What's going on here? And then, do you remember who led the family charge into church? It was Prince Andrew. And it was just terrible optics because, hold on, is that the message we're now getting from the palace, that if the king has cancer and if William is not going to show up for what he's supposed to show up for, are we just now going to be okay with Andrew being the person who represents the family now? Smiling and laughing and joking outside the church and marching in with all of his family following him. It was a terrible look. It was really, really bad. And so to get back to your question of like what's going to happen with Andrew, apparently that's what they're going to do with him, but nobody likes it. The public hates it, and they need to stop doing that. They have done this a couple of times where they've marched him out, and they need to stop doing that. He cannot be, even if it is at a funeral, even if it's not an official British state event, he cannot be the one leading the family into any situation. He can also be in the back of the line, maybe, you know, with the kids, well, not the kids, sorry, but maybe, you know, not leading the family in.
Also, they're keeping that story every time. Every time he comes out, it's what a creep. Remember, he did these things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The story's never going to go away.
It's
like
never going to go
time.
away. No. And we have this new Netflix movie that's coming out that is all about the big interview that he gave, the interview where he apparently doesn't sweat. I believe the movie also stars Gillian Anderson as the interviewer who is asking him the tough questions.
Wait.
And those promos for that new movie started to come out in the last couple of weeks in the midst of Kategate, too. So, the timing around that.
I didn't know that this is a movie based on the original interview.
Oh, it sure is.
Oh,
yes.
my
How
God.
did the interview come about? How did they nail it down? I can hardly wait for that movie, but my God, this is just another problem on the part of the palace that, of course, Netflix could seize on the moment and start releasing trailers for this in the middle of all these other conspiracy theories. And they literally released this trailer less than a week after Andrew was leading the family charge into church.
Well, they had the crown all those years. They're all they're ready for royal chicanery.
This will all be handled by that communications assistant who makes $25,000 a year. It'll be fine.
Yes. You know, free lunch is included each day with that job.
Oh, good.
Yes.
How about tea?
It's
Do we get
totally
tea?
fine.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So any chance of Harry and Meghan returning?
You know, I think at this point they probably are happy with the lives they have now. Mm-hmm. Meghan has launched her new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. They are doing their social engagements. She just signed a new contract with Lemonada Media for her podcast. Harry is doing, you know, these events with Better Up. They have a lot of things that are already on the calendar, plus their charitable events. So I think that they're doing just fine now. Oh, yeah, Meghan was just at South by Southwest giving a talk.
Oh, okay.
So I think they have enough going on already where they don't need to be back in the family fold. That being said, I think the British royal family would benefit a great deal if they could find a way to bring them back in. The interest in the royal family is really at its peak when it involves Harry and Meghan. What do they write about the most in the British tabloids, even though they're no longer technically senior royals? Harry and Meghan. Over 3/4 of the articles, if you look at any of the rags, it's Harry and Meghan all the time. When you click on the royal link, it's Harry and Meghan. It's like, well, you keep saying they're not royals anymore, but that's the main thing you write about, tabloids. What's going on here?
They're still on the website, the official website.
Yes. Yeah. And Charles did something really interesting. They updated the website in the last week. And when they updated the royal website, they cut down quite a bit. There used to be, I think, a 2,000-word bio for Harry and Meghan. It's trimmed down quite a bit because, you know, they're not working as senior royals anymore. So it makes sense. But they did add a link to the Sussex website as if to give the thumbs up to Meghan and Harry to using their titles however they want to. If they want to capitalize on their titles, go ahead. If you want to do your business, go ahead. Charles essentially was giving the go-ahead for them to do whatever they want to by including a hyperlink to their projects and to their website.
What a way to show love in the modern age.
I remember
like
I remember when my dad gave me a hyperlink.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
a special moment.
Oh, who can forget that day?
I know.
That every girl goes
I just
through
want
with
you to
their dad.
notice
Yeah.
me, Dad. They don't, but I'm trying to think, like, they really don't have anybody, because it's not like Andrew's daughters are, like, lighting everything on fire. Like, I'm just trying to think of, like, royals that engage the audience, that engage the citizens.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the rest of them just don't capture the public imagination in the same way that Meghan and Harry do. And, I mean, just to give you an idea of how much the other royals are insignificant to the public, They tried to do a big media splash for Edward's 60th birthday a week and a half ago. Did anybody notice or care? No, nobody cared that Edward was turning 60. They didn't care.
Who's
Did you two
Edward?
care?
I don't even know who
Yeah.
Edward is.
Yeah.
it, Nobody cares. And, I think it'll happen once William's kids get a little bit older. Right now, the oldest of them, George, is 10.
Right.
We all know what happened with Teen Beat and Tiger Beat and all the magazines once William reached, high school age. He became a poster boy, a heartthrob for teenage girls around the world once he reached high school age. But we're still a good 6 years away from George being high school age. So they got to fill in the gaps for the next 6 years with something interesting. And it's definitely not Edward, who you guys don't even know who he is. But,
Sorry.
and it's,
like,
and,
huh?
and it's, not really the other members of the royal family either.
Is it time for them to kind of diminish the money they take, the number of properties that they have, step it down a bit? I know. I'm asking you a tough question because this is your gig.
I think that there's a lot of scrutiny of the royal family, understandably, and there has been since, well, even before the Queen died, but especially after the Queen died.
Right.
There's been a lot of loss of faith in this institution. The Queen, in and of herself, was an institution. She was an icon. She was walking history, right? She was alive for as long as everybody we know was alive. Anybody who's ever been alive on this planet remembers the Queen being the Queen, right? She was there forever. And when she died, it was almost like somebody knocked down a mountain or something. There's that thing that was always there and it's not there anymore. So I think that once she was gone, a lot of the world did start asking those questions. Do we need this institution anymore? And we know from, the disastrous Caribbean tour that William and Kate did a couple of years, the leaders of those Caribbean islands were pushing back and saying, hey, just a heads up, now that the Queen's dead, or once the Queen dies, we're not going to do this anymore.
Right.
And they were very forthright about that. And so I think that, it's up to the people who are part of the Commonwealth. Do they really want to be a part of this institution anymore? It looks like more and more places in the Commonwealth are saying, no, we don't want this. There have definitely, with the messaging around Kate, been a lot of folks pushing back also, just saying this is a ridiculous institution and they won't even tell us the truth about who they are. I could see a version of the monarchy in the future that is 100% ceremonial, that's 100% PR, and none of this pretend we work with the prime minister. None of this imaginary
we have a prime
government
minister
stuff.
and a king.
Yeah. And right now they're a constitutional monarchy, but I could totally see them at some point maybe rebranding themselves into like, we're a PR monarchy instead. We're a historical institution, what we currently are. I could see them remaking themselves into something else, and that would still be great. People love watching them. They're a great tourist attraction. But then maybe they also would have to start doing things like paying inheritance tax or doing things that the rest of the people have to do.
There was one, I think Netflix had a documentary about Charles. It was a couple of years ago. And there was a guy that like puts the toothpaste on his toothbrush every night. Like it was that level of him, just this grown man.
Yes.
And it's just sort of like, yeah, this is not them like conquering the world anymore or about like taking in and like a religion and like, let's like organize things. It is so ceremonial now. And it just seems a little silly.
And is there a way they could be of service? Like, how could we help? Like,
they do draw attention to certain causes.
Yeah. That would be helpful.
I think they could do a better job of that. I think they could do a better job of owning up to the monarchy's pivotal and horrendous role in the transatlantic slave trade, in colonialism, in racism, in classism, all of the isms that they have been instrumental in, including sexism. They played a huge role in all of these different things.
And in the indigenous schools in America, a lot of indigenous schools of America, of the native people, the royal family was behind it.
They could maybe own up to more of that. And maybe they could be more like the King of the Netherlands, who is being very forthright and saying he is personally apologizing, not just as the king and not just as the institution, but as a human being. He is apologizing. He is setting aside money, his own personal money, to try and make things right. And can you imagine if King Charles did something like that?
No, he can't put
Whoa.
the toothbrush. He can't put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Do you remember, like, he was at the desk and he was like, "Ree!" Like that everything was out of order, and he just screeched.
Yes, he gets mad at pens.
I mean,
yeah,
that's a child. That's like Benjamin Buttons.
I was
or
like,
something.
you're describing my 12-year-old right now.
Right. It's like at the end of Benjamin Buttons when he's like running around the old folks' home and screaming and kicking. It's like, it's.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, William, I remember when I worked at YM magazine, he was a heartthrob. When he was on the cover of our magazine, it was bananas. Like it flew off the shelves. I had a lot more hope for him. I think he's a little stiffer and a little more like his father. Mm-hmm. And I've actually grown really fond of Kate. I think she's actually a pretty decent spokesperson.
I mean, I think that both of them are better than Camilla and Charles in a lot of ways. They're more well-liked by most of the public than Camilla and Charles. There are still people who are just never going to let it go, and I understand why, that Camilla was the side piece, and that in Diana's eyes, she was the one who really was the third person in their marriage. Diana's heart was broken by this situation. And I understand why a lot of people are never going to let that go. You know, she broke the heart of the most beloved princess, right?
And also just to see the princess, because she was so obsessed with being thin and being accepted. And then to see Kate, who's so painfully thin too, and seeing like she's trying to, with her husband, the pegging husband. I don't know.
The monarchy is not good to women. Meghan was very forthright about it, about how they essentially broke her spirit and didn't protect her, and what she had to go through, and the smile she had to put on her face, going to the opera and smiling at the cameras when just an hour before she was about to end her life, you know?
So sad.
Things like that. It's just, this institution is tough. It's really, really tough. And Harry says in his book, you know, it's a terrible thing to be born to be the future king. And he's grateful that he doesn't have to do that. He's grateful he's not William.
Yeah, he's living his best life.
Yeah. And are Harry and Meghan out of touch in their own way? Yes, I have no doubt they are. They're gazillionaires living in Montecito. You know, they're not like us.
Right.
And so I oftentimes hear people say like, oh, you sound like you're always defending Harry and Meghan, and you're just best friends with Harry and Meghan. And I'm like, I'm not best friends with them. I've never met them, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would ever run in the same circles either, because we are, you know, we run in different worlds. But they do nonetheless seem more in touch with the real world than William or Charles or Camilla.
Well, the Invictus games are a symbol of that. Like he created these games for people who are injured in war and give them this extra, you know, this chance at life to be a sports hero again. You could tell it's his passion and how much he gets out of it. I think
absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, something that he has been forthright about for years is, in a lot of ways, the military saved him. It allowed him to be seen as just Harry instead of Prince Harry. And he got to just have pals who were from all classes and backgrounds in life and work on, you know, one mission together with all of these people as a team, as opposed to the hierarchy and people bowing to him and, you know, all that other nonsense that he has to deal with when he's in a castle.
There's a very famous scene of him when he's being interviewed, and then they could hear the helicopter in the background. He just throws off the mic and starts running. It's very hot.
Yes, I love that one. I love it.
It's very hot. So do you think Kate and her husband are staying together?
You know, I think at this point, probably, because if for no other reason, the Kensington realizes what a public relations fiasco it would be if they didn't have a somewhat united front between these two, because it is not looking, you know, it has not looked united for the last few weeks about these two. And there's a reason why the Rose Hanbury stories were coming up. The most notable in my mind is William gets to take credit for this Mother's Day photo when it's released, but Kate is the one who has to issue the apology when the photoshopping is found later. Things like this. I think the palace realizes, in retrospect, that was the wrong way to do the messaging around that. they need to do a better job, and they need to make this royal family look like a united front, at least for the near future, after, they get past the worst of these illnesses. Hopefully they will get past the worst of it. And once they do, then if there is any marital discord, maybe they can talk about it then. But I think they realize right now is not the time for that messaging if there is a problem with the couple.
No, they're going to stay together.
Yeah. And then, this world we live in that is like Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Barbie, like women are not doing emotional labor for men anymore. And they're trying for when they do things like that, when like he gets credit for the photo and she has to do the apology, women notice, we point it out. Mm-hmm. We're not doing this anymore. Yeah. And if they
it's
split,
a bad look.
I feel sorry for him. Like the women in the world will not be kind, I suspect.
Yeah. Wow. I was about to make a Rose Hanbury joke after that.
I heard one about
do it.
Yeah, there was one I heard. It was like, what is it with these men that get like the horsey faced version of their wives, and that's who they cheat with? Camilla.
It's never just about looks, right?
Right.
It's never just about looks, because if it was just about looks, Jay-Z wouldn't have cheated on Beyonce.
You have
It's
got
never
that
just
right.
about looks.
And
The
I
one
think
that
actually
always-
Rosie's really cute.
What?
She is.
I think Rosie's
She's cute.
Rose. I call
Rose
her Rosie.
Hanbury?
Yeah. My mother's
The
name
one
was
that
Rosie.
always gets me is Shania Twain. Shania Twain
Right.
is so beautiful, and she was married to what was his name, Mutt?
Mutt Lang.
It's like and like he looks like someone who's named Mutt, and like
With her best friend.
what?
Yes.
You had Shania Twain. Oh,
Yes. And Halle Berry, every one
Yes.
of her men who keep cheating
Yep.
on her, it's like,
yeah.
it's Halle Berry. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
It's Halle Berry. Come on. Halle
Also,
Berry.
it also shows that when even people who have so much to lose will still cheat.
I get it. The aristocracy, rich people, the upper crust, it's always been a part of their lifestyle to do that, because they also have less at stake cheating than the rest of us in certain ways,
Right.
I'm not saying that us,
Yeah.
lowly
Okay.
folks don't have to deal with cheating. We do. But when there's a cheating scandal with the upper crusts, it's not like they're fighting over who's going to live in the studio apartment with the two kids together, and can somebody else afford an apartment here, and who's going to make the car payment. It's just not, they don't have the same things at stake. They can just treat
Right.
it like a sport, like fox hunting, if they want to.
Keep strong, carry on.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's what they do. And then the women go home and cry. Yeah.
Yeah, this was supposed to be funnier. But look, let's say we'll wrap this up because Kristen's got a lot of media appointments after
Yes,
this.
she does.
We're
We're honored to be on the list.
We wish Kate well. I wish that they would spend more money on that communications assistant to get like a plan together that everybody knows, everybody follows. I'm hoping she gets the best care that she can. I hope those kids turn out okay. I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope all of those things too. And I really, really hope that they get their PR shit together.
Because this has just been a mess.
So messy.
Yeah.
Well, Kristen, can you tell them all where they can find you on social media when you're not on the big TV screens?
Yes. Well, again, my podcast is called The Daily Fail. And on The Daily Fail, my co-host Maura and I, we do close readings of the tabloid news. We make fun of the tabloids. We point out the sexism, the racism, all of the crap that's in the tabloids. And we laugh and laugh and laugh every episode. Margo, you've even been a guest on the show, one of our favorite episodes you were on. I also can be found on Twitter at Kristen Meinzer. I'm also on Instagram at K10Meinzer. That's K10 Meinzer.
Awesome. And if you like the sound of our voices, meaning Sonia and I, we co-host a show called Dorking Out where we dork out about movies. Sonia, what are we going to be dorking out about? We just did She-Devil, which was super fun.
So fun. And this time we're going to be talking about Boiler Room, which I don't think I've ever seen. It's basically like a younger version of Glengarry Glen Ross. It sounds like it's probably about a bunch of douchey bros. It's going to be fun.
It's one of our male friends wants us to, I guess, tear it apart for him. So that's what we're doing next there. please send us your suggestions for creeps and for non-creeps. We're a little bit different today. Normally we end the show with a non-creep. Please send them all those places I mentioned at the top of the show. What a Creep Podcast. We also have an email, old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. If you would like some stickers, send us your address. We will get them out in the mail to you. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at The Sonia Show on all the things, everywhere you want to be. I'm there with The Sonia Show. How about you, Margot?
I'm a little more complicated, aren't I? I'm at Brooklyn Fitchick. That's my site, and that's where I am for Instagram and Threads. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for Twitter, and then for the TikTok, as long as that exists, until the government tries to take that away from us.
Boo.
All right, everyone. We'll be back with a new episode next week. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us on this crazy news day.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Everybody stay safe and don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.